casual manner, probably answering a journalist, not an official statement, or saying that those things will not happen again. Now, yesterday comes out, no official statement. He just said they'll be brought to book. There has been no consequence of all these statements by the president for the past 1 month. Why should we believe what he said yesterday?
You know, Fred, the biggest weakness that we have as a country is that we want to make political capital out of grave matters that requires even...
He's our president, despite whichever party he's from. He's a president.
Allow me to speak. You've asked me a question. Allow me to speak. We want to make political capital and create politics out of a very serious matter. On this particular matter, the president spoke yesterday and said those who killed Ojwang, the errant police officers who committed crimes and actually are criminals by any standard, should be brought to book. And they are known. They were within Central Police Station. They are not strangers who are outside. The drama and the lies around the activities and reports from the Central Police Station. Don't think by the time the Inspector General of Police is tendering an apology to the public from the initial story, the very foolish story that Ojwang hit the wall with his own face and that's why he's died. Who gave that narrative? It is known. It's an officer. So, and who put off the CCTV? So that let's avoid other stories outside this.
We cannot ignore the president. We cannot ignore the president's statements, Bonasocion.
And Fred, I know we are talking politics on this one. And
that is not politics. He issued a statement about it.
To talk politics.
Okay.
Let's talk about.
Let me ask Ngunjiri.
No.
From a communications perspective, because that's a question I'm asking.
Yes.
The president has been issuing statements in what many people have said in a very casual manner.
Yes.
He said most of those who had been abducted have been taken back to their families. Then he said it will not happen again. He issued an apology. From what position, we are not so sure. Then yesterday comes, he's not issuing any official statement. He just says they shall be brought to book. Does that kind of communication give you any form of confidence from the president's position?
I think I would want to... I read the statement, the 3-page statement that came from the president on the issue of Albert. And the difference with this one, as to compare to all the ones you mentioned, was that this one actually had substance. As you said, the initial statements, the initial responses, were questions asked and then he'd respond. He did a 3-page statement about the issue of Albert, where he talked as a parent, talked as a commander-in-chief, and he made the commitments he made. And then he said that IPOA needed to, that all security agencies needed to cooperate with IPOA. There's a statement I wanted to correct. I was in the security committee in the last parliament, and IPOA actually has investigating officers who are people who leave the police force and go and start working for IPOA as investigators. Actually, that's what they're called. They're called investigating officers. They are paid by IPOA. They report to IPOA. I'm not sure they're armed, but they have an investigation capacity.
She said she said they are not armed.
No, they're not. I'm
Yesterday.
not. That's the part I'm not sure about. What I do know, they have that, but then I also know they're not enough because we used to keep fighting about budget for them. They don't have enough budget to actually be able to do all the cases that they're given. So yes, they end up depending on the police or the Internal Affairs Bureau to do investigations of some cases. Now, coming back to the communications avenue, the difference between the Albert case, and maybe this is because of the piling pressure that has been piling, unfortunately, due to past abductions and past killings and of this, is that this one, there's a lot more effort from especially even within government to try and reduce gaps, information gaps. It doesn't mean that they are finished. But then, for example, when I think about what Senate did yesterday, I am not sure this was a decision made entirely by Senate itself. I suspect this was a decision made by either pro-government senators, decided we need to create an avenue where we actually get to ventilate and to challenge and to ask the questions the public is asking to the police officers involved. So You see that happening. You see the president giving quite a long response to this issue. You see Kanja going and apologizing. And I agree with Osion, that was just the most stupid statement that had been issued before. The one that said that the guy had actually, that Albert had actually knocked his head on the wall and died. As the investigation is being conducted, one of the things that needs to be done is, I know the spokesman, the police spokesman is the one who signed off that statement. But I assume he signed off that statement based on a formal report he was given by some officer. The officer who gave that report is a person of interest in this case. We need to know who actually told you that Albert banged his head on the wall. Because also, that's where now the cover-up begins. Because whoever told you that he banged his head on the wall is where the beginning of the cover-up of this murder happened. Because I think the assumption was, you say that, and then that case will disappear. But then whoever thought that you can tell the Kenyan public that somebody who was picked from Homa Bay and brought to Nairobi, then got to Nairobi and banged his head on the wall and died while alone in a police cell, is crazy. So there's a lot of effort being put in to try and get this, to try and create opportunities to ventilate for the public. You know, you see a lot of pressure on the president, and the president responds with actually a substantive and well thought out response. A lot of pressure on the police, and